So before we talk about how to dream again, let's talk about where dreaming comes from. And quite simply, dreaming comes from the unconscious mind. I'm sure you're familiar with the consciousness, and maybe unconsciousness too, but let's clarify real quickly. Consciousness is the thing that wakes up in the morning and goes to sleep at night. Consciousness is the thinking part of your mind. You're doing it right now, and you did it when you clicked on this video. Unconsciousness, quite simply, is everything else. It's everything unthought, which includes emotions, memories that you aren't actively recalling, and thoughts that you don't think, or memories that you repress or suppress. And that's quite simply because they're not thought. Consciousness is active. Unconsciousness, while consciousness is active, is passive. Consciousness is what gives us our language. It provides structure to our reality. Whereas unconsciousness is much more reactive. It's our emotions. It doesn't go forward out in the day. It waits for the consciousness to bring experience to us and then reacts to what comes to it. Dreaming, then, is the inverse process. When we fall asleep, our consciousness goes to sleep. And our emotions during the REM cycle start flowing and pulsing a little bit. It's the inverse of the process, as I said. Dreams are driven by emotions. And when you remember a dream, it's your consciousness waking up just ever so slightly and putting its ear up to the door and listening through. And this is why dreams can feel so weird and almost illogical sometimes. It's because consciousness likes to say, it will ask, how windy is it today? And expect an answer like 15 miles per hour with some wind gusts. But the unconscious, because it's just more of a flowing emotion and doesn't have a structured language, it will ask, how many winds is it today? What does that mean? How do you answer that? That sounds like a dream question, doesn't it? That's because it's an unconscious question, and it's how the unconscious works. It doesn't have a consciousness inside of it to provide structure to these questions, to quantify, to quantize what is going on in there. That's what the consciousness does. The unconscious is just quite simply an amorphous flow, a current of emotions and thoughts going on, of memories. So consciousness is very structured. It likes to quantize what's going on. It encapsulates and packets things up, much in the same way that my words are encapsulating meaning to transmit them to you. But then once they hit your ears and get back into your brain, you depackage them and give it to your unconscious to understand the meaning of what's going on. Because words on their own don't mean anything, do they? They're just symbols. And symbols is the same way that dreams are the unconscious communicating to you. It's speaking in a symbolic language that's deeply personal to you. It's symbolic of your life experiences. And for that reason, dreams cannot be interpreted with finality. Dreams can be interpreted by anyone, but you get the final say on what they actually mean. Because it's your dream. It's your experiences that are being communicated. No one else can tell you what you meant to say. You are the one who had the meaning that started the conversation. There is a common language to dreams, but how they come up and the faces and imagery and the actual symbols that show up are very personal to you. So when we stop dreaming, and up until this year, I can't recall the last time I dreamed. I think a decade at least. I'm 33, so maybe a dream here and there. But now, after I've been practicing what I'm about to tell you, I've had dreams at least every week, I would say. Sometimes night back to back, sometimes weeks at a time. But, the point of dreaming isn't to always have dreams. Like I've been kind of saying, Dreams are meaningful. They are your meaning because your unconscious is what interprets and provides meaning to your day-to-day life. So when I have a significant event, an emotional event in life, then I certainly start to anticipate, not expect or demand, but I start to say, ooh, I think I'm going to dream on this tonight, because that's my inner mind, my unconscious mind, processing those emotional events. It's trying to understand what the meaning is of those to me. And it does this without consciousness to provide structure to it. Structure in the sense of day-to-day life, right? Like I was saying, of language, of time, of space. When I say space, I'm thinking of like a grid. Think of math class where you'd have like an X and a Y coordinate system, and it creates a grid, right? That's what we mean by structure. As some analogies, I'd like to say that a tomato plant will grow just fine in the wild. It'll grow, but it grows much better if you give it a trellis to grow up, because eventually the tomatoes get so heavy, they'll fall over. So a tomato plant will grow just fine on its own, but with structure it grows even better because it doesn't have to grow on the ground anymore. That's the same way that your consciousness and unconsciousness cooperate, co-function together. Consciousness is meaningless structure, and unconsciousness is structureless meaning. A few more analogies I can think of is that I pay for the mortgage for my house, but my girlfriend makes it feel like home, right? I provide structure, literally the structure, and she gives meaning to it within it. That's exactly the same interplay that's going on in your mind day to day. And it's when your consciousness shuts down at night that your unconsciousness, your meaningful self, gets a chance to speak and be heard, because it's quite soft. It's primarily a reactive part of you, an emotional part of you, right? Remember, emotions aren't thoughts, right? Unconscious means unthought thoughts or anything unthought. And emotions aren't thought, they alter thinking. So when you sleep at night and consciousness starts to sleep, recuperate, whatever it does, I don't know. When it shuts down, the unconsciousness finally gets a chance to speak and be heard during that REM cycle. And because it doesn't have the consciousness to structure it, it's very odd, right? I hear phrases like dream logic, or people might even say, oh, it's just a dream. It doesn't mean anything. It's illogical. I think of the movie Inception, where they're talking about they meet at the table and he's like, how did you get here? Do you remember? Because that's exactly how dreams are. They're almost like movies. They just cut around and things just happen and faces morph where people are faceless. But dreams are always emotional, aren't they? Think of any dreams you can remember. There's always an emotion that drives that dream. And that's because that's exactly what's going on. It's the inverse of our normal process in day-to-day. Day-to-day consciousness leads experience to our unconsciousness. When dreaming, emotions are driving the experience of the dream. So it's very important, if you ever want to interpret a dream or remember a dream, that you remember the emotion, because the emotion is the source of that dream. As a final analogy, maybe I already said this, I've been talking off script for a while. There's a final analogy I like to think of how they cooperate, and it's really quite nice. The unconsciousness is like a horse drawing a carriage. The horse doesn't know where it's going, or why it's going, or who it's carrying. It just can see the road and maybe react to any dangers that come up on the road. And the driver is sitting behind the horse, directing. The driver can't pull the carriage, but the driver can know where they're going, why they're going, and who they're going, or who they're pulling. So the two cooperate together to make the whole system work. That's exactly how your consciousness and unconsciousness work together in day-to-day life. So we're at the point where we need to ask ourselves, how do you treat your horse? How do you treat your inner mind, your meaningful mind? How do you treat your emotions? Because if you don't dream, but would like to, then essentially what you're asking is, I would like to feel my emotions again, or let them run free. So how do you treat your horse? That is key to dreaming again. And I'll tell you exactly how right now. When you go to bed tonight, whether you're just getting into bed or you're laying your head on your pillow, as your consciousness starts to ease away, say to yourself out loud, if there's anything you'd like to tell me, I'm here to listen. And you say that because that's an invitation, not a command. That is how relationships start. Not by force, but by invitation, where each shows a willingness to participate. And then you'll go to sleep as you normally do. And when you wake up, if your unconscious did say anything, if there's anything that you remember at all, you need to act on that and bring it into reality. You could write it down, which is what I normally do. You could draw it, which is sometimes what I do. Or you could just repeat it out loud even. I recommend writing it down. It's the easiest. But it's very important that you do it very quickly because, as you know, dreams fade rather quickly. There's been a few times where I wake up and I've just got something else in life going on, and I don't get to write it until hours later that afternoon. And every time I do that, that's usually how I start off writing down the dream. As I say, I can't remember much of this. I used to. I know when I woke up, I had it very vivid in my head, but now I don't. And that's because emotions drive your dreams, and emotions are temporary. They will fade. You can remember the emotion, but it's very difficult to recreate the same amorphous flow, current of emotion that originally drove that dream. So write it down as quickly as you can. But if something comes up, don't be hard on yourself. It's okay. Life comes up. There will be more dreams. But it's very important that you do something with what you remember. And that's because any good relationship has trust. And all trust starts with honesty. And all honesty is when actions align with words. That is why you tell yourself in words at night, if you have anything to say, I'm here to listen. And then the only thing missing at that point is for you to follow up with actions to prove that you meant it. That is how you develop trust in any relationship. It's just odd in this way because we're developing trust with ourselves to deliver on what we said to ourselves. And that's it. Truly, that is it. You only need to do those two things to start dreaming again. If you don't dream, don't beat yourself up, or don't beat your horse, so to speak. It will happen eventually. You just need to keep inviting it. So, that's it. Sorry that took so long, but that is it. You just need to invite yourself to dream at night, and then prove to yourself in the morning that you meant it. If you end up having any dreams, I would love to hear them. Or if you don't want to share the dream, just tell me that you did dream. That's wonderful too. I'd just like to hear from you and know if you had success. I've had success with my family. I've shared with my sister this process, and she started dreaming again pretty quickly, within a week or two. I've done this for myself starting early this year, and I dream very regularly. I have an entire log of dreams, and I've shared a few on this channel, and I'm happy to share more. They're very emotional and very vulnerable. I do that to make you feel more comfortable with sharing them with yourself. You don't have to share them with other people. But I like to share them with you because that requires a lot of vulnerability and, well, a lot of willingness to be vulnerable. And that's what that invitation is. If you have anything to say, I'm here to listen. It's you being vulnerable with yourself. That's all you need to do. And I really do believe that everyone can do that for themselves, because you don't need to share that with anyone. It's a very personal thing. But if I can do it and share it, then I know factually that you can do it for yourself too. So thank you for watching. I hope to hear from you. I'll look for you in the comments. Happy dreaming. Okay, that was nice. I like that. That was fun. I think I got everything. I didn't talk about the wind. I loved the wind part of it, but In some of my other takes, I was talking about how the consciousness is logic and structure, right? So logic consciousness likes to count, is what I was saying in the other takes. Consciousness likes to well, your unconsciousness is like a wind. It's a current of emotions. It just flows. So the consciousness will like to count wind. It'll say, how many miles per hour is the wind today? How many gusts of wind gusts will there be today? But the unconsciousness doesn't have that language, that structure to it. So the unconscious he'll speak in like riddles, and it'll say, how many winds is it today? What does that mean? But that's the language it speaks in, right? It's very symbolic. And you can tell it's not meaningless, but it's very hard to share that, to ask. Like, if you asked someone that in day-to-day life, they'd, what? Like, what do you mean? How do you count wind? Wind is just a flow. It's not discrete. It's continuous, right? And that's exactly what's going on. Is your unconscious is a continuum. It's a flow, a wave, a pulsing, a glow of emotions that shapes and oozes and wiggles around. And your consciousness is like putting a grid over that so that you're able to count it, almost like calculus or something like that. It's quantizing it, quantifying it, so that you can actually like say something about it and give it like well, it already has meaning. I almost said give it meaning. It has meaning. It is meaning, but you need to be able to express it and share it somehow. And that's what the consciousness is really doing. So anyway, I don't know. I was having fun talking, so I kept talking. I think we can end this video now. Thanks for watching.